Chosen one, you didn't find this message by accident. You were divinely drawn to it. The heavens have recorded your nights, every quiet breakdown behind closed doors, every unspoken plea that only God could interpret. And now the answer is in motion, not in thunder, but in alignment, not in chaos, but in clarity. Because when God responds, he doesn't send chaos, he sends covenant. This isn't just about love, it's about rescue, it's about restoration through relationship. God is preparing someone whose wealth is not just material, but spiritual. Someone whose heart beats in rhythm with heavens. Someone who will recognize you, not from appearance, but from anointing. And yes, this person is coming not just to love you, but to relocate you, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. They are being sent as a shield, a provider, and a partner in divine assignment. Not everyone gets this kind of intervention. But then again, not everyone is chosen. If your spirit is trembling, if something deep within you feels seen, comment 777 below. Not to follow a trend, but to activate a truth. That number is sacred agreement. It's your silent yes to God's supernatural blueprint unfolding over your life. To every soul who's ever poured into this channel through a super thanks, I speak this from the depths of my being. You are part of this move. Whether you gave out of abundance or sacrifice, heaven took note. Your offering has already been translated into protection, favor, and unexpected provision in the season ahead. Thank you for your presence, your trust, and your unwavering faith. So stay close. We're about to open 7 prophetic layers that will not only reveal who this soulmate is, but why now, why you, and why everything is about to change. This isn't a message, it's a miracle in motion. Let's begin. God's chosen ones. God is sending a wealthy soulmate to protect you, provide for you, and relocate you. Chapter 1. God saw you. Hold it down alone. You were not overlooked. You were overburdened, and heaven took note. Chosen one, before we dive deep, pause for this truth. You didn't just survive. You carried sacred weight that should have broken you. And now, the Most High is peeling back the curtain on your endurance. Not to shame those who disappeared, but to elevate the one who stayed faithful. Think of Viola Davis. Before she held Oscars in her hands, she held hunger in her belly. Raised in poverty, chased by shame, she didn't just dream, she endured. Her strength didn't start on a stage, it started in silence. Her voice was anointed long before it was applauded. And now, her legacy isn't fame, it's fire. She rose because she refused to fold. Now contrast her with Bernie Madoff, a man who wore the suit of success but operated from shadows. He wasn't called to steward wealth, he siphoned it through deceit. While women like Viola carried truth with trembling but unwavering hands, Madoff built a kingdom on lies and manipulation. He had clients' trust but no conscience. He had billions flowing through his hands, but no legacy of honor. And when the truth caught up with him, it wasn't protest that collapsed his empire. It was exposure. And have you ever felt the sting of giving everything, only to be left with nothing? Have you been the one who held the roof together while others poked holes in your peace? The one who stood strong in public while collapsing in private? Have you whispered, God, does anyone really see me, while holding back tears no one noticed? You didn't just endure, you interceded. You weren't just holding the line, you were the line. And still, no one saw how close you were to collapsing, but God did. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. Psalm 34, verse 15. Let me tell you about Layla, an ER nurse in Chicago. For 2 years, she held the hands of strangers in their final breath. She came home to a cold apartment, a disconnected partner, and friends who said, "You're strong, you'll bounce back." One night, after losing a patient she'd fought hard to save, she sat in her car and broke down. No one called, no one knocked. But God whispered, "I see you." 3 months later, she was gifted a retreat she never applied for. A stranger laid hands on her and said, "The one who holds others is now being held." Layla didn't collapse. She ascended, and so will you. You weren't weak. You were warfare in human form. Every act of silent love, every unseen sacrifice, heaven recorded it. You weren't building walls. You were building altars. And now, God is sending compensation, not just in provision, but in partnership, not just in resources, but in restoration. "I have seen his ways, but I will heal him. I will lead him and restore comfort to him and his mourners." Isaiah 57:18. Have you noticed the shift? Old names in your inbox, glances that linger longer. Suddenly, your silence isn't mistaken, it's magnetic, because those who once drained you are now recognizing the depth they misjudged. They didn't break you, they built your stage. And the Lord isn't just responding with words, He's responding with someone ordained to pour back into the one who poured. A partner who doesn't shrink from your light, but shields it. One who doesn't just admire your spirit, but mirrors your loyalty. You won't have to convince them of your value. They'll arrive recognizing it, not because of charm, but because of calling. Because heaven never forgets the ones who bled quietly for others. Think of the cedar tree. It grows slowly, unseen for years. Its roots interlock with others beneath the soil, building strength long before the first branch appears. You are that tree, still, rooted, rising. And if you're wondering, why now, God? This is why. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. Chosen one, your harvest is not coming. It has already begun. So straighten your crown, wipe your face. Heaven saw the tears you didn't show, and now heaven is answering, not with noise but with presence. You were not invisible. You were invaluable. And now your reward walks toward you with purpose in their eyes and peace in their hands. This is only the beginning. Chapter 2 is already stirring. Are you ready to see what love looks like when it's been sent, not just felt? Chapter 2. You've been prepared for a different kind of love. You didn't endure all that heartbreak for nothing, chosen one. The pain wasn't pointless. The silence wasn't punishment. It was preparation. After the season of holding it all down alone, of loving without return and showing up when no one else did, you were never just surviving loneliness. You were being refined by it. You see, God doesn't just heal wounds. He rebuilds foundations. And in the process, He dismantles every counterfeit that ever tried to disguise itself as real love. That ache you felt when someone claimed to care but couldn't hold your heart with reverence, that wasn't a failure. That was the beginning of your upgrade. Do you ever wonder why your spirit now recoils from chaos that once felt like passion? Why you suddenly crave peace over pursuit, depth over drama? It's because your heart has graduated. You've been detoxed from the toxicity of love that demanded your loyalty while offering none in return. That wasn't love. It was emotional warfare. You weren't being held, you were being handled. And yet, God saw it all. Every tear you swallowed so others wouldn't feel guilty, every long text you deleted before sending, every birthday you spent waiting on a message that never came, every prayer you whispered that started with, "Lord, I just want to be chosen." Let me show you what this preparation looks like in real life. There's a woman named Leona, a nurse from a quiet town in Oregon. She once dated a man who praised her in public but controlled her in private. When she finally left, she spent 3 years alone, not just healing, but learning how to feel safe again in her own skin. Then came someone different, not flashy, not forceful, just consistent. A man who never raised his voice, who remembered her favorite tea, who asked questions and waited for real answers. On their 5th date, he said, "I didn't come to complete you. I came because I recognized the masterpiece you already are." They're married now, not because she changed herself, but because she stopped settling. Now contrast that with someone like Felix, a fame-chasing influencer from LA who built his entire platform on healing love while emotionally manipulating every woman behind the scenes. Charming online, cruel in private. His words inspired millions, but his hands left a trail of silent pain. Eventually, one of those women spoke out, not to destroy him, but to liberate herself. His empire crumbled, because what's built on deception cannot withstand divine exposure. And here's a name you know, Adele. Yes, the global powerhouse of voice and vulnerability. She once confessed how love almost broke her, but it was healing, solitude, and the fierce reclaiming of her self-worth that allowed her to rebuild not just her heart, but her entire life. Her album 30 wasn't just about music, it was about maturity. She didn't rush back into love. She rebuilt herself until love had to meet her at a higher level. Opposite her in energy is someone like Tristan Thompson, charming, adored in public, yet known more for inconsistency and betrayal than character. He had the love of someone loyal, but lacked the integrity to rise with it. And that's the difference. Divine love doesn't just look good, it walks in truth. As Proverbs 10:9 reminds us, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. And you, chosen one, have been walking the narrow road, not because it was easy, but because it was sacred. So why do you think certain people suddenly lost access to you? Why did your body start reacting to energy it once tolerated? Why does peace feel more like home than passion ever did? Could it be because your soul has started to recognize its own worth? You're not waiting on rescue anymore. You've been rescued already from every false version of love you once accepted out of loneliness. Like a tree that's weathered the storm, you now stretch taller, stronger, not because you're perfect, but because you're planted. As Jeremiah 17:8 says, they will be like a tree planted by the water. Its leaves are always green. Your roots now reach deep into discernment, and your branches are preparing to carry something sacred. The next one who enters your life won't come to disturb your peace. They will reflect it. They won't be confused by your light. They'll honor it. You won't have to convince them that your heart is worthy. They'll know, because God will have whispered your name to them before you ever meet. It's going to feel unfamiliar, not because it's wrong, but because it's holy. You're used to intensity wrapped in insecurity, but now you're being introduced to intimacy wrapped in peace. The difference is everything. You are not too much. You were just planted in soil too shallow for your depth. You are not hard to love. You were just surrounded by those who hadn't learned how to love themselves. You are not waiting for a fairy tale. You are walking into a prophecy. So prepare, not with desperation, but with dignity. God doesn't send what's divine into chaos. He sends it to those who've been made ready. What if your heartbreak was never just a wound, but a womb? What if your tears were seeds? What if all this time you weren't waiting for love to find you, but for heaven to release the one who was healing for you too? And when they come, they won't come to fix you. They'll come to find you, and they'll say, finally, there you are. Because you were never lost. You were just being prepared. This is only the beginning. Chapter 3 is already stirring. Are you ready to see what love looks like when it doesn't just choose you, but protects you like heaven would? Because the way they guard you will reveal the way God has always covered you. Chapter 3. Their protection is a reflection of God's heart. You didn't wait all this time for ordinary affection, chosen one. You didn't survive what you did just to be paired with someone who merely likes your surface. No, what's being sent to you is sacred. This is divine reinforcement. God isn't just answering your prayer for love. He's answering his own promise to protect what he planted in you. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be truly covered, not caged? To be cherished without needing to perform? To be prayed for without asking? That's the kind of love heaven is orchestrating on your behalf. A love that's not intimidated by your calling, but aligned with it. One that won't compete with your purpose, but will consecrate it. You've encountered people who were fascinated by your light, but only because they wanted to borrow it. Some desired your oil, but didn't want the crushing it came from. Others clung to you, not because they believed in your future, but because they feared being left behind by it. But now God is sending someone who recognizes what you carry and reveres the one who gave it. For the Lord is faithful. He will strengthen you and guard you from the evil one. 2 Thessalonians 3:3. Consider the story of Dr. Edith Eger, a Holocaust survivor turned psychologist. In her darkest hour, she lost nearly everything. But years later, when she met her husband, he didn't flinch at her scars. He didn't pity her. He honored her strength, sat beside her silence, and became a protector of her healing, not just a witness. Now imagine that same spiritual depth being mirrored in your life, a love that doesn't fear your fire, but helps you tend it with care. And to contrast, think of someone like Elizabeth Bathory, a noblewoman born into power, privilege, and trust, gifted with status and opportunity, yet consumed by darkness. She desired eternal beauty and dominance without compassion, legacy without mercy. Her name is now etched not in honor, but in horror. She reminds us that not everyone walking beside you is heaven sent. Some are allowed near only to sharpen your discernment, not to share in your destiny. I've met Clarissa before, an elementary music teacher from the countryside who poured her soul into her students year after year. She believed in hope, but secretly longed to be seen. One winter, after a health scare, she found herself bedridden and afraid. But one student's father, a quiet widower who had watched her care for others, stepped in. He cooked her meals, prayed over her door, sat by her bedside not out of obligation, but reverence. Today, they're married, and his love didn't come to distract her music. It came to harmonize with it. Even the eagle knows when to soar alone and when to lock wings with a mate. The deer knows which wind carries danger and which brings relief. You, chosen one, are now in the season where heaven is shifting the winds in your favor. Do you feel it? The way your soul is no longer satisfied by shallow talk. The way your spirit no longer tolerates anything that dishonors your peace. That's not isolation, it's insulation. God is preparing the environment before he places the covering. This person will know when your silence means pray for me, and when your stillness means worship beside me. They'll guard your dreams like fragile seeds, not pry them open before they're ready. They will know how to hold your hand and your vision in the same moment. And it won't be flashy, it won't be loud. It will be like David's friendship with Jonathan, sacred, steady, covenant-born. It will be like the protection Joseph gave Mary, covering her not just from scandal, but from spiritual sabotage. You won't have to shrink to be safe. You won't need to trade revelation for relationship. This connection will carry the weight of purpose. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. Psalm 32, verse 7. So breathe, chosen one. Let yourself expect what you once thought was too holy to hope for. Because this time, love isn't coming to test your spirit. It's coming to testify of it. And when you meet them, don't be surprised if you feel peace before you feel passion. Don't be shocked if their strength isn't in loud promises, but in quiet presence. Because the most divine love doesn't demand the spotlight. It builds the altar. They're not here to carry your crown, they're here to walk beside it. And when the world looks at you together, they won't just see love, they'll see God. Let this be the connection that reflects heaven, not in perfection, but in protection, not in control, but in covenant, not in fear, but in fire. Because when God sends someone to protect you, they don't guard just your heart, they guard your calling. And that, chosen one, is what you've been waiting for. So now, chosen one, breathe a little deeper, because what's being sent to you isn't fragile, flippant, or fleeting. This kind of love has been forged in the secret fires of prayer. It's been hidden, refined, and released in divine timing. Not everyone is equipped to carry the responsibility of loving someone anointed. But this person, they were born with the capacity to protect what others only tried to possess. They'll understand that your silence isn't distance, it's discernment. That your standards aren't pride, they're prophetic boundaries. They'll know that your calling doesn't need competition, it needs covering. And they'll give it not out of obligation, but out of overflow. And if you wonder, how will I recognize them? You'll know. Not because of grand gestures, but because your spirit will exhale. For the first time in a long time, you'll feel safe without shrinking. You'll feel pursued without being pressured. You'll feel loved, not for how well you perform, but for how deeply you carry presence. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord." This love is part of that inheritance, a weapon against loneliness, a balm for the soul, a fulfillment of the quiet promises you held onto in the dark. So don't be surprised if this love comes softly, not with fireworks, but with foundation, not with noise, but with knowing. Because God doesn't just send romance, He sends reinforcement. And what's arriving is not just a person, but a protector of destiny. Are you ready to receive love that guards, not grabs, that uplifts, not undermines, that covers, not cages? Then take this next breath, because chapter 4 is already on its way. Chapter 4. They will have the resources to provide and the anointing to protect it. Chosen one, this time will not look like the last. The person being sent to you is not showing up with dreams alone. They're arriving with delivery. They carry not just desire, but divine design. Their provision won't be limited to finances. It will extend to emotional wisdom, spiritual insight, and a presence that shifts the very atmosphere around you. God is not sending someone who needs saving. He is sending someone who has already been refined. Someone who's walked through betrayal and didn't harden. Someone who's been humbled by life and yet lifted by grace. You're not just attracting a partner, you're aligning with a provider, and not the kind who throws resources like confetti, but the kind who stewards every seed with prayer. Do you remember the story of Boaz and Ruth? Ruth didn't chase provision, she positioned herself in obedience, and Boaz, recognizing the favor of God upon her, stepped in not just to cover her physically, but to secure her legacy. The one coming into your life will carry that same Boaz spirit, not flashy, but faithful, not performative, but prophetic. Have you ever paused to wonder why you're no longer impressed by shallow wealth? Why do designer labels and surface success leave you hollow now? Could it be because your spirit is now calibrated to divine provision, not human performance? Let me offer you two reflections, one of divine contrast, the other of divine confirmation. Consider Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. Few know that he was born in the housing projects of Brooklyn, but what set him apart wasn't just his ability to earn, it was his passion to create opportunities for others through his wealth. Healthcare for baristas, college tuition for part-timers. He didn't hoard provision, He redirected it. The person God is sending to you will think like this, not, how do I keep it, but who can I bless with it? Now contrast that with Jordan Belfort, the infamous Wolf of Wall Street. He had resources, yes, but used them to intoxicate, manipulate, and exploit. He built wealth but lost his soul. And that is not the kind of energy that belongs in your space anymore. You've been through too much. You've healed too long. You cannot afford to build on sand again. You need someone who understands that true provision protects, not possesses. Let me tell you about Leah, a midwife in a storm-torn village who used her small inheritance not to escape her community, but to rebuild it. She funded shelter for mothers, clean water for children, and offered refuge in the midst of ruin. She never made headlines, but heaven recorded every act. And when her time came for partnership, God sent a man, not rich by the world's standards, but rich in faith, in stewardship, in vision. They built quietly, but eternity noticed. You too are being matched with someone like this, someone whose very presence will feel like a strategy from heaven. They'll walk into your life, and instead of asking, "What do you need from me?" they'll say, "Where do we begin?" Their generosity won't be for show, it will be sacred. Their support won't be transactional, it will be tethered to your purpose. As Proverbs 13:22 reminds us, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. You are the righteous remnant, and the wealth assigned to you is not coming through exploitation, but through divine appointment. This person will create room for your calling, not crowd it. They'll invest in your voice, fund your peace, and cultivate a future where both of you can rise in purpose without tension. And hear this, your growth will not threaten them. Your ideas will not intimidate them. Your fire will not offend them, because they're not sent to extinguish your flame. They're sent to build a home around it. This is divine compensation for all the seasons you stretched, sacrificed, and stayed silent. This is the Lord responding to every seed you sowed in faith, every tear you wept in lack, every time you gave without return. This is the harvest, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. As 2 Corinthians 9:8 says, God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. And now, chosen one, your abounding begins. Get ready to receive provision, not just in your hands, but in your heart. Provision that comes with peace, provision that comes with purpose, provision that reflects the very heart of God. But what if that kind of provision can't land where you are? What if the blessing has been waiting, just not at your current location, but at your next assignment? This is only the beginning. Chapter 5 is already stirring. Are you ready to see what happens when God doesn't just bless you, He moves you? Because the next chapter isn't just about arrival, it's about relocation for greater purpose. Chapter 5. You will be relocated for greater purpose. Chosen one, have you ever wondered why the ground beneath you has started to feel unfamiliar, even though nothing around you has physically changed? Have you noticed how what once comforted you now confines you? The friendships that once fueled you now fatigue you. The routines that brought structure now feel like shackles. That's not coincidence. That's calling. And calling always comes with a shift. Just like Abraham in Genesis 12:1, when the Lord said, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." This next phase of your life demands movement, not reckless running, but sacred, spirit-led relocation. And God isn't just moving your body, He's moving your entire blueprint, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, environmentally, because the weight of your next chapter cannot survive in the soil of your last. You've outgrown the comfort zone, You've surpassed the limitations placed on you by people who only knew an older version of you. Your wings have been brushing against the walls of places that were only meant to be temporary shelters, not permanent tombs. And here's the miracle in motion. God is not just sending love into your life, He is sending movement. Your divine partner is not simply a romantic answer. They are a divine vehicle, a catalyst, a relocation wrapped in human form. Have you ever thought about that? What if the love story you've been waiting for is actually the relocation your spirit has been longing for? This person will not only love you, they will move you. Their presence will stir the water around your stagnant shores. Their insight will clear the spiritual fog that settled over your path. Their obedience to God will open gates you didn't even know were locked. Let me tell you about someone who once faced a similar shift. Shania Twain. Raised in a small, struggling household in rural Canada, she grew up surrounded by scarcity, silence, and survival. She knew the weight of hidden talent, of carrying a voice meant for the world while being buried in family responsibility and financial strain. But when the moment came, and she stepped into new spaces with courage, relocating not just physically but spiritually, everything changed. Her voice didn't just entertain, it liberated. She became a force of freedom, of resilience, of reinvention, not just for herself, but for every person who had ever been told to stay quiet and settle. In contrast, think of someone like Lance Armstrong, a famous former professional cyclist from the United States. Once a celebrated icon, admired for resilience, he refused to relocate spiritually when it mattered most. He clung to old habits, old lies, old elevations without realignment, and it cost him everything, because promotion without purification is always temporary. But you, chosen one, are not clinging. You are releasing. You are discerning the divine tug that says, it's time. And what about the unseen stories? Like Eliana, a single mother in Detroit, she worked 3 jobs, barely surviving, always dreaming of a better life for her daughter. One day, after a chance encounter with a stranger in a laundromat, a woman who prayed over her without even knowing her name, Eliana felt something unlock. Within months, she was offered a housing scholarship in another state, a job with benefits, and a school for her daughter that specialized in gifted children. Was it luck? Number, it was relocation. It was God's favor in transit. And today, Eliana mentors young mothers on how to listen to divine whispers that sound like disruption, but lead to destiny. Now, chosen one, have you considered, what if that unsettling in your soul isn't confusion? It's contraction before rebirth. What if your current location, be it geographic or emotional, is not your assignment, but your audition? The tide doesn't apologize for rising. The lion doesn't ask permission to leave the valley. And you, the anointed one, don't need to justify your movement to those who can't see the weight you carry. God is moving you into a place where your gifts are not just noticed, but nurtured. Where your vision doesn't have to be defended, it is desired. Where your voice echoes in rooms built to receive you. And here's the part many miss. Relocation isn't always about escape, it's about expansion. You are not running from something, you are running towards something sacred. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This new place, this new season, is the stream after your drought. Your divine partner will sense it too. They won't fight your movement. They'll fund it. They won't question your momentum. They'll match it. They won't restrict your wings. They'll reinforce your flight. Together, you'll walk into places that once ignored you, and now they'll honor you. Your name will be spoken in rooms you haven't stepped into yet. Your gifts will find favor where your past found rejection. And it won't be because you forced it, Wooly. It will be because God repositioned it. This is the miracle of movement, the blessing of becoming, the sacred release from confinement into consecrated alignment. So, are you ready to go where comfort cannot follow? Are you ready to let love become more than a feeling, become the vehicle that carries you into the very center of your purpose? Because what's coming next isn't just relocation, it's revelation, it's restoration, it's resurrection. God isn't merely shifting your environment, He's realigning your destiny. And when you arrive, it won't just be a new place, it will be sacred ground. You won't just be seen, you'll be stationed, appointed by the hand of heaven, planted in the soil of purpose, and there waiting, not ahead of you, not behind you, but right beside you, will be the one who was always meant to walk this road with you. This next chapter isn't just about movement, it's about meeting, and not just anyone, but someone whose presence will feel like a divine answer, a soul that carries your rhythm, a peace that confirms your prayers. What comes next won't feel normal, it won't follow logic, it will feel like something only heaven could have written. Chapter 6. This connection will feel supernatural. There's a reason this connection will feel supernatural, chosen one, because it is. It's not born from fantasy, infatuation, or emotional longing. It's birthed from the blueprint of heaven. What God is sending into your life now won't resemble anything you've ever known. Why? Because it's authored by divine intention, not survival instinct. It won't mirror your fears, your wounds, or the patterns you were once trapped in. It will carry the weight of sacred design. This is not the echo of past trauma dressed in charm. This is the real thing. Think of Mary and Joseph, how their connection didn't arise from worldly attraction, but divine mission. Joseph was chosen to protect what heaven had planted. He didn't understand everything, but he obeyed. Could it be that the person coming into your life is also carrying an assignment, one that involves you? Not to complete you, but to walk beside you, shoulder to shoulder, as your equal in faith and purpose. What if the peace you feel with them isn't just compatibility, but confirmation? A peace not manufactured by chemistry or comfort, but the kind that surpasses all understanding. Philippians 4:7. Have you ever met someone who didn't awaken your anxiety, but instead dissolved it? Someone whose very presence silenced your overthinking? That's how you'll know. Not because it's flashy, not because it's fast, but because it's still. You won't feel like you're falling. You'll feel like you're finally landing. You won't need to chase clarity. The signs will be quiet, but undeniable. You won't be asking God for signs in desperation. Instead, confirmations will appear in casual conversations, divine timing, and unexplainable alignments. That book they recommend? It speaks directly to your secret prayer. That sentence they say in passing. It echoes what God told you last night. You'll feel the fingerprints of the Most High on every page of this unfolding story. And you won't have to perform. You won't have to shrink, compromise, or apologize for your depth. Remember Moses? He stuttered. He doubted, but God still chose him to lead. And God also sent Aaron, not just as a helper, but as a complement. Who is being sent to complement your calling, not compete with it? This won't be a connection built on masks. You'll be emotionally safe, spiritually nourished, and fully seen. Not for the persona you curated, but for the soul you carry. I once knew a woman named Alina, a quiet school counselor in her 40s. She had given up on love after years of betrayal and silent compromise. Then, a man she'd met years earlier returned, not with smooth words, but with a changed spirit. He asked questions that no one ever had. What makes you feel safe? What kind of legacy are you building? She wept, not because he was perfect, but because he made her feel protected. And isn't that what love should do? Not confuse, but clarify. Not ignite chaos, but offer covering. In a world of breadcrumb affection and on-again, off-again hearts, God is sending something different, something rare, something whole. Consider Nelson Mandela, leader, peacemaker, prisoner turned president. But did you know his second wife, Graça Machel, was a humanitarian who matched his vision and gentleness? He said of her, "She makes me blossom." That's what this love will do for you. It will allow the garden inside you to grow without fear of being trampled. In contrast, think of someone like Pablo Escobar, powerful but obsessed with control. Those around him weren't nurtured, they were used. That's the difference between possession and partnership. This new connection, it won't just match your light, it will protect it. They'll cover you in prayer, not jealousy. They won't shrink from your calling, they'll honor it. And when life gets heavy, they won't retreat. They'll stay. You won't have to decipher games, ride emotional roller coasters, or interpret silence as punishment. The foundation will be peace, not confusion. Grace, not guessing. Imagine a redwood forest. These trees don't compete for sunlight. They intertwine roots underground. That's how they stand through storms, by being connected below the surface. This love will feel like that, deep-rooted, not visible to everyone, but unshakable beneath. They won't trigger your abandonment wounds. They'll whisper to them, "You're safe now." They won't tell you you're too much. They'll tell you, "You were never too much. You just needed a deeper well." And when you look in their eyes, it won't feel like you're being evaluated. It will feel like you're being understood. You'll recognize the sacred timing of it all. You'll know that if they had arrived earlier, you might have sabotaged it, confusing consistency for boredom or kindness for weakness. But now, after healing, you're ready. And so are they. And this time, love won't require pain to prove its worth. It won't ask you to bleed to be believed. It will feel like what Ruth experienced with Boaz, not a fairy tale but a redemptive reality. Boaz didn't chase Ruth. He covered her, respected her, honored her journey. God is still writing those kinds of love stories today. And here's the miracle. When God authors something, He also carries it. You won't have to hold it together by sheer will. What heaven sends, heaven also sustains. As Psalm 127 once says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain." This isn't you laboring. This is heaven building. And this love, it's the evidence. Because what happens when preparation meets promise, when healing meets destiny, when two spirits refined in fire meet not to fill each other's voids but to amplify their purpose? Chosen one, get ready, not for fantasy, but for divine reality, not for something loud, but for something lasting, not for someone to save you, but to walk with you, pray with you, protect you, provide for you, and yes, maybe even relocate you, not because you're weak, but because your next chapter requires covering. Chapter 7. You're being rewarded for staying faithful. You're being rewarded, chosen one, not just with a relationship, but with a reflection of God's faithfulness in response to yours. This next connection, the one coming into your life, is not coincidence. It's not karma. It's not finally catching a break. No, this is a divine appointment, long scheduled on the calendar of heaven. And now, it is time. Why now? Because you waited when others rushed. You prayed when others posted. You stayed when others scattered. You remained faithful when all the evidence around you screamed, "Give up." And that faith, the kind that doesn't waver in the wilderness, is the kind heaven honors. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. Have you ever wondered if God truly saw what you gave up? If He counted the nights you wept quietly, choosing obedience over escape? If He noticed when you deleted that message, ended that relationship, walked away from comfort just to preserve your calling. He did. He saw every decision, every whispered yes behind closed doors. And now heaven responds. Just like Noah, who built the ark long before the rain came, Genesis 6:22, you built a life of integrity when the reward was nowhere in sight. And now the floodgates of favor are opening, not to destroy, but to elevate. And what's arriving isn't just a partner, it's a purpose partner, someone who's been refined like you, someone who didn't skip the process, someone who understands that kingdom love requires more than chemistry. It requires covenant. Let me tell you about Clara, a language teacher in Madrid. For years, she watched friends pair off while she stayed in the shadows, serving at her church, mentoring girls, tithing on every paycheck. But she once told me, if God isn't the author, I don't want to be a chapter. One day, a man arrived, not in sparkles or flattery, but in quiet strength. He didn't try to impress. He asked her about the book of Ephesians. That was the beginning. Years later, they're still studying it together. And their love? Rooted in scripture, not suggestion. Contrast that with Howard Hughes, a billionaire, yes, but hollow, isolated, suspicious of every connection. He had the resources of the world, but never the rest of God, because power without purpose will always collapse in on itself. That's the difference between success and significance, between being seen and being spiritually understood. What's coming for you will speak your spiritual language. You won't have to dilute your anointing just to be accepted. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 6:14. And for so long you obeyed, even when it was lonely. And now God is sending someone who doesn't just understand your calling, they're running in the same direction. There won't be confusion, there won't be compromise, there will be clarity, alignment, and peace. You won't need to convince them that you're worthy. They'll already know, because God has shown them. Just as he revealed Esther's purpose to King Xerxes at the appointed time, Esther 2:17, he will awaken this person's heart to your value, without striving, without manipulation, without delay. Can you imagine walking into a connection that feels like shade in the desert, like wind after fire, like the voice of God in a crowd of noise? That's what this will feel like. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Psalm 23:3. This person will not drain you, they will refresh you, not because they're perfect, but because they are God prepared. And let's talk about your preparation. You didn't just wait, you transformed. You allowed God to prune what was unnecessary. Every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. John 15:2. You shed ego, you shed entitlement, you even shed some dreams that weren't aligned with his will. And now what's coming isn't just compatible, it's consecrated. They won't just be drawn to your charisma, they'll be magnetized by your surrender. This is someone who doesn't fall in love with your platform, but with your prayer life. Someone who isn't afraid of your tears, but honors them like oil. Someone who says, let's fast together, not let's post together. Someone who says, I saw you in the spirit before I saw you in the flesh. And here's the miracle. They won't complete you. They'll reflect what God has already completed inside you. Just like Adam recognized Eve, not with suspicion, but with affirmation. This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. Genesis 2:23. You will recognize this connection not with fear, but with divine familiarity. You'll realize this person was not sent to distract you, not to detour your destiny. They are not the type you used to chase, but the one you were always called to meet. They'll walk beside you, not above, not behind, and they'll pray with you, not for performance, but for power. Have you noticed the patterns falling away? The old desires losing their grip? That's no accident. That's transformation. And this connection, it's arriving because of that transformation. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised. James 1:12. Chosen. 1. Your crown is not just a title, it's a testimony. And this relationship, it is part of that crown. It is the fruit of enduring with integrity. So when they arrive, don't flinch, don't retreat, don't think, this is too good to be true. Because what God sends is never too good. It's exactly good. It's holy. It's protected. It's yours. And when you walk into this next season, hand in hand with someone who sees your soul and not just your success, remember, this is not the prize, it's the proof that God is faithful, that He never wastes pain, that He does in fact reward those who remain faithful when no one is watching. Chapter 8. This love will cost you nothing, but it will require everything. You've waited long, chosen one, but this love will not cost you what the old ones did. It won't require you to bleed just to be seen, nor beg just to be kept. The connection God is sending you will cost you nothing, and yet it will require everything. Not your money, not your charisma, but your willingness to release everything that no longer serves the person you've become. This is not transactional love. It's transformational covenant. Are you truly ready for something holy? Are you willing to let go of control, perfectionism, and self-protection to receive a love that doesn't need you to perform, just to be present? This love isn't coming to consume you. It's coming to complete the calling on your life. Remember the woman with the alabaster jar in Luke 7:37-38. She didn't bring logic. She brought surrender. She poured everything at the feet of Jesus, not to earn love, but to honor it. That's the posture this new love will require. Not striving, but pouring. Not proving, but receiving. And this person being sent your way, they're not arriving because of your charm. They're arriving because of your alignment, like the tide being drawn to the moon, not by effort but by gravity. This person will be magnetized to your soul because of what heaven has already sealed. They'll see your scars and not flinch. They'll touch your truth and not tremble. Let me tell you about Milan, a former dancer in New York. After years of surface-level relationships, she made a quiet vow to God. If love must require me to hide, I don't want it. For 3 years she chose solitude over settling. Then one day, in a bookstore of all places, she struck a conversation with a man who quoted Isaiah 61. He didn't ask what she did. He asked what she was being healed from. That day changed her story. He didn't pursue her as a prize. He saw her as a promise. Perfect love casts out fear. 1 John 4:18. Not only fear of rejection, but fear of being fully known. Because true covenant does not shrink in the presence of vulnerability, it deepens. But for that to happen, you must be willing to take off the armor that once kept you safe in battle, but now keeps you from intimacy. Have you noticed how the old cycles no longer satisfy? How the flirty texts, the fast connections, the attention-grabbing sparks no longer excite your spirit? That's by design. God has been detoxing you, not just from people, but from patterns. You're not just being prepared to meet someone new. You're being prepared to be someone new. This love will not require explanations for your depth. It will meet you there. It won't tiptoe around your calling. It will honor it. This isn't the kind of connection that retreats when your fire gets too bright. It's the kind that says, let me bring wood to keep it burning, because they don't just admire your light. They were built to walk in it with you. And what about those who failed to see your worth? Those who called your standards too high, your discernment too sharp, your prayers too strange. Remember how Jesus was mocked for being too radical in his devotion. Even his disciples sometimes doubted him. But God never lowers his standard to fit man's comfort, and neither should you. This person won't come to question your anointing, they'll come to confirm it. You'll feel it in the way they look at you, not with desire, but with destiny, in the way they pray for you, not just for success, but for spiritual alignment. This is someone who won't just fall for your laugh, they'll fall for your legacy. You won't have to manipulate to keep them. You won't have to shrink your voice to maintain harmony. You won't have to dim your light to make them stay. Why? Because they're not attracted to your performance. They're drawn to your presence. And more than that, they're assigned to your path. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. What God is sending you is not a possession, it's a treasure, and it will require a heart ready to love without idols, without control, without fear. Are you ready to receive without suspicion, to welcome without sabotage, to trust the good because it comes from God? This is the love that will feel like a field of wheat in the morning sun, quiet, golden, effortless in its beauty. It won't demand to be noticed. It will simply exist in peace. And in that peace, your spirit will finally exhale. Think of Martin Luther King Jr., a man of immense public responsibility, yet he said, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." Love for him was not emotion, it was assignment. And that's what's coming for you, a love that aligns with your assignment, not competes with it. In contrast, consider a figure like Jezebel, seductive, manipulative, domineering. She wasn't after unity, she was after control. Many have encountered love like hers, laced with conditions, power games, and subtle sabotage. But God is rewriting your story. This time, the love will not cost you your voice. It will amplify it. It won't test your boundaries. It will honor them. It won't drown your fire. It will fan it. You've done the work, chosen one, the heart work, the soul surgery, the refinement through isolation. You didn't just wait, you worshipped. You didn't just hope, you healed. And now, what's being sent isn't a reward, it's a reflection. So be ready. This connection won't be perfect, but it will be pure. It won't look like what the world calls love. It will look like covenant. It will cost you nothing, but it will ask for all of you. And when it arrives, you'll know, not by butterflies, but by the stillness in your soul that says, "This is holy ground." But don't be surprised when that stillness unnerves others, because the more you become who God called you to be, the more you'll outgrow what once surrounded you. The deeper your peace, the louder it will sound to those still living in chaos. The healthier your love, the more threatening it will feel to those who only ever learned how to survive. And the brighter your alignment, the more clearly it will reveal what no longer belongs. This isn't rejection, it's distinction. And what feels like distance is sometimes just heaven drawing a boundary between who you were and who you've now become. Chapter 9. Some people won't recognize the new you. And that's the point. They won't all recognize you anymore, chosen one. And that's not a problem. That's proof. You've changed, and not in a way that makes sense to the world. You've grown beyond the confines of old roles, outgrown conversations that once kept you comfortable, detached from dynamics that once disguised themselves as love. You no longer fit in rooms where your silence was celebrated more than your truth. And now, those who once cheered for you. Some of them will turn their heads in confusion, others in quiet resentment. But don't let that shake you. Some people won't recognize the new you because they were never meant to walk with the you that's healed. Remember when Jesus returned to his hometown, the very people who saw him grow up couldn't receive who he had become. "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" they asked with skepticism, and they took offense at him. Matthew 13:57. His miracles didn't stop, his power didn't shrink, but their perception did. He wasn't dishonored because he changed. He was dishonored because they couldn't change with him. And now you stand at a similar threshold. This version of you, the one that prays in silence, discerns without judgment, loves without performing, is not one they recognize. They preferred the version of you that was accessible, compliant, unsure. That version served their comfort. This version confronts their complacency. I'll tell you about Davon, a once promising musician from Detroit. For years he dimmed his sound to fit the tastes of others, but after an encounter with God in a midnight hospital waiting room, he rewrote his life. He turned down lucrative record deals, left behind his old crew, and moved in silence. People said he'd lost his mind. But 3 years later, he released a worship album that saved lives, including his own. When asked why he left everything behind, he said, "They didn't lose me. I found me." Not everyone will applaud your emergence. Not everyone will understand your elevation. Like eagles that soar higher than the air can carry pigeons, you've risen into a spiritual altitude where not every voice can reach you anymore. And that is by design. Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Separation is not always punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. God is not isolating you. He is insulating you, protecting what is newly planted in your spirit from the insects of old familiarity. What He's about to release into your life requires a different kind of soil. And not every friendship, relationship, or family tie can carry the weight of your anointing. So, when someone from your past says, "You've changed," don't apologize. Say, "Thank you." When they accuse you of being too deep, smile. Depth frightens the shallow. When they say you've become distant, realize it's not distance, it's distinction. You're not above them, but you're beyond where they last left you. Can two walk together unless they are agreed? Amos 3:3. Some of the heartbreak you experienced wasn't betrayal, it was divine divergence. God had to reroute you from connections that were silently stunting your destiny. People who weren't evil, but who couldn't carry your oil. Who admired your light, but never intended to protect it. And that's the hard truth. Not everyone who loves your presence can handle your power. Judas walked with Jesus. Delilah whispered to Samson, "Familiarity doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes the most dangerous connections are the ones you refuse to outgrow." So now you must ask, what am I still carrying that God has already released from my life? Whose voice am I still seeking validation from when heaven has already approved me? You are my beloved. With you I am well pleased. Luke 3:22. That's the only voice that matters now. The love God is sending into your life, it's not for the version of you that begged to be seen. It's for the you who stands still and knows you are chosen. You cannot bring this blessing into the old season. You cannot shrink to keep peace with those who were never called to your promise. This time, the love will not cost you your voice. It will amplify it. It won't test your boundaries. It will honor them. It won't drown your fire. It will fan it. You've done the work, chosen one. The heart work, the soul surgery, the refinement through isolation. You didn't just wait. You worshipped. You didn't just hope. You healed. And now, what's being sent isn't a reward. It's a reflection. So be ready. This connection won't be perfect, but it will be pure. It won't look like what the world calls love. It will look like covenant. It will cost you nothing, but it will ask for all of you. And when it arrives, you'll know, not by fireworks, but by the quiet growth inside your spirit that says, "I didn't rush this. God grew me into this." Like bamboo, which stays buried for years, building invisible roots before suddenly rising feet in mere weeks, your healing wasn't idle. It was foundational. And now, like bamboo rising in sacred rhythm, so are you. Not everyone can see how deep the roots go, but the one who planted you does. You're no longer waiting for permission to bloom. You're simply rising into the season God has already written. And in this next chapter, someone is being sent not just to love you, but to war with you in spirit, to protect the garden you've watered in secret. And for that, you must leave behind the people who only understood your seed, but never your harvest. Chapter 10. God isn't just sending someone to love you, He's sending someone who will war with you in spirit. They're not just coming to love you, chosen one, they're coming to war with you in spirit. Yes, love is part of it. Deep, nourishing, restorative love. But this next connection is not a vacation for your heart. It is a covenant for your calling. It won't be based on aesthetics or even affection alone. It will be forged in prayer, welded in purpose, and rooted in spiritual warfare. Because what you carry now, it's not just beauty, it's burden. What's on your life now? It's not just favor, it's fire. And the person being sent to walk beside you is not intimidated by that. They're assigned to it. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls, one can help the other up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. This is not someone who claps when you shine and disappears when you're shadowed. This is someone who intercedes when you're weak, who discerns when you're confused, who lifts your arms like Aaron did for Moses when the battle grew heavy. Exodus 17:12. Have you ever longed for a love that prays when you're silent? That sees the storm before you name it. That doesn't just comfort your wounds, but fights what caused them. Let me tell you about Imani, a trauma counselor in Chicago. After surviving years of emotional neglect and betrayal, she built walls that even pastors couldn't pray through, until she met someone not intimidated by her layers, but assigned to intercede through them. He didn't rush her healing, he fasted for it. When she spiraled in doubt, he left sticky notes of scriptures throughout her apartment. One of them read, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Exodus 14:14. They married 3 years later, not because the wounds disappeared, but because they chose to war together. This is that kind of love. Not passive, not pretty, prophetic. Because the truth is, your life is under surveillance by hell. The enemy didn't attack you because you were weak. He attacked you because you were strategic. And now, the person being sent your way isn't just coming with flowers. They're coming with armor. Think of Jonathan and David. Their love wasn't built in comfort. It was born in conflict. Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. 1 Samuel 18:3. Jonathan protected David even when it cost him everything. That's the kind of bond God is aligning for you. Can you imagine someone loving your calling so deeply they'd rather lose their crown than watch you fall? What would it feel like to be shielded not out of pity, but out of prophetic purpose? We've seen this kind of covenant in the lives of great leaders, those who didn't walk alone, but stood stronger because of divine reinforcement. Take Dr. Billy Graham, one of the most influential evangelists of the 20th century. His global ministry touched hundreds of millions, but behind him, always praying, always protecting, always discerning, was his wife, Ruth Bell Graham. She wasn't just his partner in marriage, she was his intercessor, his quiet strategist, the one who covered him in spiritual authority. When the world applauded him, she anchored him. She once said, "A good marriage is the union of two good forgivers." But it was more than that. It was the union of two warriors, one on stage, one behind the veil. That's the kind of person God is sending you, not just someone to hold your hand in the spotlight, but someone who will hold your heart in the silence, someone who doesn't envy your voice but protects it, someone who sees your calling and says, "Let's guard it together." Now contrast that with someone like Napoleon Bonaparte, a man of unmatched strategic brilliance, but driven by pride, paranoia, and domination. He had power, yes, but his relationships were marked by control, not covenant. His pursuit of glory left him isolated, distrusted, and ultimately exiled. He didn't build legacy through unity. He burned through people in pursuit of supremacy. That's the difference between divine companionship and carnal control. One multiplies your impact. The other magnifies your insecurity. One makes you feel seen, safe, and spiritually synced. The other makes you feel small unless you're performing. So how will you recognize the one God is sending? Will you discern the difference between someone who wants you and someone who's willing to war with you and for you? Chosen one, God is not sending someone to compete with your light. He's sending someone who was forged in similar fire, carrying peace over pride, prayer over power, covenant over competition. And don't be surprised if this person isn't flashy. Don't expect fireworks. Expect fruit. Their presence will carry peace, not performance. You'll know them by the way they walk. Not ahead, not behind, but beside you. You'll recognize them not by words alone, but by how they move in the unseen. Have you ever noticed that olive trees take decades to mature, yet they produce oil that heals, anoints, and endures? That's how this relationship will feel. Like an olive tree, quiet, slow to sprout, but once matured, carries oil no fire can consume. This person will not be impressed by your title. They'll be moved by your testimony. They won't be flustered by your spiritual battles. In fact, they'll expect them, because warriors recognize the rhythm of war. And they weren't sent to spectate. They were sent to stand with you. They'll speak life when depression whispers death. They'll anoint your feet when your journey grows dry. They'll walk with you when no one claps. And when it's time to go to war, not against flesh, but against spiritual forces, they won't flinch, because they've warred before. This is a bond not made in firelight, but forged in fire. You'll pray together and see strongholds break. You'll dream together and watch divine blueprints unfold. You'll weep together and call it worship. And when the enemy comes to test your union, you'll look at each other not with fear, but with fire in your eyes. One can chase 1,000, but two can put 10,000 to flight. Deuteronomy 32:30. That's the kind of multiplication God is about to release in your life through covenant. So no, chosen one, this person won't just love you. They'll love your God. They'll love your mission. They'll love your purity. They'll love your silence. They'll love your yes to heaven. And their presence will feel like the cedar tree in Lebanon, tall, steady, weatherproof. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Psalm 92:12. They won't wither in trials. They'll anchor you in storms. This is why the delays were necessary. This is why the counterfeits had to fall away. Because what's coming couldn't be rushed. And you had to become the kind of person who could steward this kind of partnership, not just receive it. So when they show up, clothed in peace, covered in prayer, carrying armor, don't hesitate. Take their hand, lift your eyes, and step forward. You've been fighting alone long enough. Now God is sending reinforcement, not just for romance, but for rain. And now, chosen one, if your heart is still soft, your eyes still glassy, your spirit still trembling with quiet expectation, that's not by accident. That's confirmation. You didn't imagine the weight of this word. You didn't conjure the promise of a partner sent by God to protect, to provide, and to position you for your next divine assignment. You heard it because it's real. You felt it because it's near. This is not just about love. It's about legacy. It's not just about romance. It's about rebuilding ruins together as God intended. You were never meant to carry this mantle alone. And now heaven is aligning what earth tried to delay. The delay was not denial. It was divine orchestration. So, if this message touched something sacred within you, if you felt a holy confirmation stir in the deepest part of your soul, comment below with, "I'm ready. I receive my kingdom partnership." Let the heavens see your agreement. Let your declaration be your doorway. And if this word blessed you in any way, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone waiting for their own divine promise, and subscribe for more heaven-sent confirmations like this. Every comment, every click, every act of faith helps spread this message to the next chosen soul in need. To those who have supported through super thanks, thank you from the depths. And to those who stayed, watched, wept, and believed quietly, your presence is no less powerful. You're part of this prophetic circle. Now, may the Lord bless you with protection, provision, and prophetic partnership. May your next chapter be filled with peaceful relocation, emotional safety, and wealth, not just of finances, but of purpose, joy, and shared divine destiny. Until next time, stay grounded, stay expectant, because God is not just preparing a partner, He's preparing you to rise as one.